3D action.
Hey, Miguel Dorati back here on the CRP, the Cage Rage podcast, and we're doing interviews again. We've got MMA coming up March 7th in Tennessee, so it's about 5 weeks away, a little less than 5 weeks away. One of the lightweights on the card is Alexaner Schenk. Alexaner Schenk will be taking on Ebi Sikby in the 155-pound fight. And I'm joined by Alexander. I've talked to Alexander before. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. What about you?
Doing good, doing good. Glad to have you back here. Now, talk to me about March 7th. How you feeling for this fight?
I feel very great, very ready. I've been had a couple fights since then. Just trying to stay active, training real good in the gym. Got some great people. My gym is the best gym out there by far. They're propelling me. I'm propelling them. We're just a whole fighting MMA buffet out there.
Okay, so we got a lot to cover here. Now, when we got March 7th, we've got Jonathan Ivy's Cage Fighting Championships 8, and that's in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So, yeah, with the 8 coming up, you were on the card number 7, and that was a fight that we talked before the fight, and, you were very confident going into that one, and you took a little bit of a setback. Now, you mentioned that you got back in the cage a couple of times since then. But take us through that. Take us through the loss to Vasquez, and then the bounce back fights.
All right. So Vasquez, he's a good fighter. He's an okay fighter. Like everything I said before still remains. He's an okay fighter. He's not really any good striking. Okay grappling, but I guess to have no excuses, he was a better man, so he beat me. But I don't rematch in the amateurs, but when we go pro, if he wants to fight again, we can fight again, and we can really see what's going on.
Okay, now you did take the setback, and we can get back into the Vasquez fight later. I want to ask you about it. Maybe his experience mattered in the fight. And I wanted you to take me through that because it looked like, if you're checking off the boxes, you had a few advantages, athleticism and momentum and a couple of things. Maybe even confidence. You had a lot of boxes that you could check off, but he had that one that was experience. So you can talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll talk about getting back in the cage after that loss.
Okay, so I don't think experience is a factor. He had 8 fights, MMA fights, but I've had loads of karate fights, loads of wrestling tournaments, loads of jiu-jitsu matches. So I wouldn't say he had the experience advantage. Just, I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm going to just keep it simple. He was a better man, but I actually invited him to come train with me, so we're going to see what's happening, but he's definitely going to get this W March 7th. He's going to smoke this kid.
Yeah, he's on the card as well. So you took the loss on CFC 7, and you said you got back into the cage. I see you got a couple of belts and stuff. You're staying in the amateur.
Oh, I got
nice
this one right here. Thank you.
So to go ahead, take me through the belts, take me through the show since the Vasquez loss.
So I fought for Island Fights, is owned by UFC. I was scheduled to fight a guy named Devin Hall, I think, or something like Devin something, and a week, maybe a little bit less than a week before the fight, he faked a rib injury. He told everybody that he dislocated his rib. And then so one of my head coaches, Jacob Kilburn, he looked up the picture and he found out that it was the first picture on Google. And then he commented under the post that this guy made and saying that he wouldn't be able to fight because he hurt his rib. And then soon after Jacob did that, he deleted all the comments. He deleted his Facebook page. And I don't know. He had 18 fights. I don't see why you would pull out of a fight with me. I'm 18 years old. Well, 19 now. I'm 19 years old, so I don't understand why you would want to pull out a fight against me. Anyway, he pulled out the fight. So instead, short notice, like 3 days before, I stepped in and I fought Joe Ham at 155. My fight was originally at 145, and I fought Joe Ham in the co-main event. I was the 16th fight out of 17 fights. I fought Joe Ham. I went in there. I felt very good. My combinations, I was popping them off real good. But he was real big. He was real strong. He had good power. But I like that I went against him because I'm pretty sure he'll probably be the most powerful puncher that I'll fight in a long time. He hit very hard. I took a shot in the first round, and he hit me with an uppercut. Boom! I was like, ooh, that was nice. I felt it. But if you guys want to see how that fight went, it's on YouTube. Joe Ham versus Alexander Schenk. Go look it up. Can't tell you how it went.
Yeah, and well, we can tell you he got a W, and as you said, Island Fight's a little bit, Jonathan's got a good show down there, but Island Fight's a little bit higher profile, so
A little bit, yeah.
Still trying to get your name out there and stuff. Now, you said you had a couple of fights. Did you have a second fight?
Oh no, just that one. Just
okay.
That one. Yeah.
All right. But that's a good experience, and that's your coach. How fast after the loss did you get back in the cage?
So I fought October something, and then in December I fought again for Island Fights.
Okay, so about 5 or 6 weeks. That's not bad. I mean, you weren't hurt, so
no, not at all.
Now let me ask you a question. So let's say your fight was October 10th.
Yeah.
If you could have fought October 12th, would you have done it?
I would have fought October 10th later that night.
Yeah, sometimes if you're healthy and the mindset's right and you're young, you can take advantage of it and
of course,
not take a big layoff. So, but now you come back to Jonathan's show. Ebby, also a veteran of Jonathan's show. Tell me what you know about your next opponent here.
So Ebby, whatever his name is, this guy, he is nothing impressive. He's a grappler, southpaw, kind of scared to stand up, who's going to make you believe like he wants to stand up, but then he's going to shoot on you and take you down. Sloppy stand up, head movement not good. He puts his hands down for somebody with not good head movement. I'm going to pick him apart, give him an MMA buffet. Everybody's saying that, oh, Xander got grappled or Xander did this and can't grapple. That's like the thing out there. I can't grapple. So I'm gonna go out there. I'm giving him an MMA buffet. You guys can go check out my shirts. It says it on the back of the shirts. We can leave the link in here or something like that. I'll post it later. But I'm just giving him a full MMA buffet. You ever been to Golden Corral? He's gonna have a Golden Corral of MMA techniques. All right. So I'm gonna strike with him because I'm the best striker in amateur MMA and better than a lot of professional MMA strikers. I'm a great grappler, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, all of it. I'm going to just show my whole skill. I always like to stand up because I feel like it's more entertaining. The fans like standing up. The fans love to see people punch and kick. Nobody wants to see nobody hug each other and wrestle and roll across the ground for a whole fight. That's boring. Everybody's going to sit here and they're going to be all booed out. So that's exactly the type of fighter that Ebby is. That's not I wouldn't say it's a bad style of fighting, just a boring style of fighting. Look at Khabib. He's done that. He's became champion. So it's not a bad style of fighting. It's safe, but it's just one-dimensional. In MMA, you need to be more than just a grappler. You need to have striking. You need to have something. But he has good cardio, so I guess that's something, but I'm going to break him March 7th.
Now, if he's known for his grappling, what are you going to do if he winds up on top?
So my team, like I said, we're the best team out here. I've been working on stuff off my back to get up, but I can knock him out off my back. I can submit him off my back. I can stand up and get back on the feet and fight whoever I want. I can transition, get on top of him. My team has prepared me perfectly. This training camp is very well. I feel very good. I feel very fluent, punching harder, faster. My cardio is way better than it's ever been. Technique for technique, I'm the best fighter in the CFC, but I'm definitely going to go ahead and he's going to, of course, try to take me down. I've been taken down before, as you guys seen. I've been taken down by Logan Nash, and I've been taken down by Vasquez. I've been taken down by Vasquez. So you can take me down, but still in those two fights, I haven't did my best. I haven't gave it my all. So this fight, I'm looking to actually give it my all, and I believe he won't be able to take me down, and I'll be able to take him down at will. I can foot sweep him. I can lat drop him. I can do anything I want to him. I can put my hand on his head and just punch him. I can do anything I want to him. I am the most complete fighter. I know my fight. If you watch my fight with Jamie Vasquez, it wasn't a fight. We both were standing at each other and looking at each other. We threw probably about 18 strikes in a 3-round fight. So, and all the strikes he threw, except for maybe 4, I blocked. I moved out the way or something. I only threw one punch. It was an uppercut, and it dropped him. But yeah, that's it.
Yep. No, I understand now. So let's talk a little bit about the CFC and the lightweight scene. So you got Vasquez in there, you got Abby, you got a couple of other decent names in there. It's kind of a stacked division for the level it's at. Uh, Obviously, you think you're at the top of that. But what do you see coming up next after Abby? Is there a Vasquez rematch that's been talked about, or anything along those lines? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so this fight is actually for the featherweight title, but
Okay.
after Ebby, he's moving down from lightweight. But after Ebby, after I defend my title against him, uh, I'll take anybody. I'm not going to fight Jaime Vasquez as an amateur. I do not take rematches as an amateur. We can fight in a kickboxing fight. We can fight in a grappling match, but I will not take an MMA fight. We don't do that in the amateurs. We're trying to get as many different styles and body types and shapes and sizes as we can. So when we go pro, we've seen everything. But after this, I'm just looking to make my name out there again. So I'll defend my title a few more times. I'm looking to go pro before the end of this year. So I'm going to be at every Ivy show, defending my title, every Ivy show. We can fight whoever they put in front of me. A name that I really like is Donovan Savato, or however you say his name, the guy that's fighting Jaime Vasquez. Sadly, he's going to lose his fight, but if he were to win, that would be a good fight to go. But then again, we could fight again. Even though I'm going to come off a win after this March 7th. He'll come off a loss, but I would like to fight him. He's a 170 champ, and they're saying he's one of the best pound for pound, and he has a padded record. He has 3 fights, and all 3 fights, none of them had more than 1 win. His first opponent was a teammate of mine, great person, great fighter, but he was 0-0. His second fight was against a guy that was like 1-2. Third fight was against somebody 0-1 or something like that. So I don't understand how he could be the pound for pound best argument when he's fought nobody's. Anybody that I fought would have smashed him, but whatever. But he ran for my teammate James Harrison coming down to lightweight, but it's fine. I'm here, so might scare him back up there. He might go down to 35. I don't know.
Now, it sounds like you got some good rivalries there now, and that'll keep you busy on the CFC this year. You said you wanted to go pro maybe by the end of the year, early next year, around there. What companies are you looking at? Has you been in contact with anybody? Island Fights obviously does pro fights as well. Is that where you're going to go? Maybe somewhere where you've been an amateur and then as a pro? Sometimes knowing the building, knowing the promoter and stuff is a nice advantage as well.
Yep. So I'm looking to go pro for Island Fights because I know the promoter, Dean Toll, great guy. So I'm looking to go pro for them and fight a little bit because I feel like that's like the biggest scene to go to the UFC. But I don't know if I should be saying this, but Ivy is looking to add some pro fights to his show. So maybe after he does that, I'll jump on a couple of those, fight for him a little bit. But, back and forth, Ivy, Island Fights, when Ivy gets to pros. But Island Fights is the number one place I'm looking to go pro-wise because I feel like Mike Davis, a good teammate or teammate and training partner I've had, Jacob Kilburn, a brother to me. We're like blood. He's made it to the UFC from there. Brock Weaver's made it from the UFC from there. So I just feel like that's a good place to get to the UFC.
And I was going to ask you about some of the teammates that had already been there that you've been working with. Obviously, you got a couple of veterans there with the UFC. But what do you know about Island Fights and the lightweight? Are you going to go as a lightweight or as a featherweight? Because I mixed up the championship, but you do have your belt at 45 too, right?
Yep. So I like 45 right now. I only take 55 when I'm being lazy. I don't want to cut weight. Don't want to train as hard. I go 55. But 45 is good for me. I'm pretty short. I'm pretty small. I'm like 5'7", 5'8", walk around 165, 175 pounds. I'm pretty small. So 45 is good for me. If I get taller or bigger, 55 will be there. Or if I just want to get lazy or fight Donovan, something like that.
Now, you said you wrestle. So if you take 3 months off, you really walk around at 170, you're cutting about 30 pounds?
Yeah, I walk around like 170. The most I've ever been probably like, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, take me through your cut because I know that wrestlers, they start that when they're young, you know what I mean? So it's like usually, and everybody's got a little bit of a different science to it. But take me, like, what do you, like, if you're at 170, you got to make 145. Do you need a month? Can you do it in 2 weeks? Like, and you're young. Maybe by the time you're 30, it'll change. But take me through it.
So, my weight like fluctuates. My first fight, I was 176 before I cut down to 150. And until I fought at 35, I was starving myself, not eating, running a lot, just sweating as much as I can, doing whatever I could to what I felt would get the weight off. But when I fought at 35, I'm very lean. I'm like 12% body fat at 170, 175. And then so when I went to 35, I was cutting weight and it was hard to get down to the weight because I had so little body fat. And once I got to like 140, my body fat was turning to taking muscle away. So I had to do it smarter. So Jacob Kilburn, he put me on this weight cut water loading. So I'll do for the week of the fight. I'll take 2 gallons of water Monday, then a gallon and a half, then a gallon, then half a gallon, then no water, no food, nothing on the day of weigh-ins, and then I'll go in. But honestly, I'm a little heavy right now, but I could make 45 tonight if I needed to. Tomorrow morning if I needed to. I can make 45 at any time. I can make 55 pretty easy. 35, I'll need about a month. 35.
All right, and is 35 something that you're legitimately thinking about competing as a pro, or are you going to rule it out? Because if once you get down there, then getting back up is also a little bit of a different story too. As you know.
Yeah. So after March 7th, I'll be defending my 135 title in April, and so I'm gonna see how it feels again. Do it for a second time, because my coach Jacob told me. He said, well, my friend, whatever you want to call him, Jacob told me he said once you start cutting weight and you make it to a weight you didn't think you was gonna make it, it makes your head go, oh, I can go lower. Let's go 125, 115. So I'm not really going that low. But after I made the 135 weight, I was like, I think I can go lower. And I did that on 2 weeks as I was cutting to 45. But I did it to 2 weeks, and I was like, I didn't prepare properly. So this time, after this 145-pound fight, I'm not going to get much heavier. I'll probably be like 150, 155 at most until the 35 fight, and then I'm going to cut down, and I'm going to stay pretty low, try to see how that feels. And if I can do that again, then possibly 135. But I'm very fast. I just feel like people think my speed is an advantage and I like to go up because I'm faster than everybody. But when I fought at 35, I was way faster than that kid. So I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
It's nice to have the option. I mean, that's a wide range of weight class. You're a 4 weight class dude,
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how your MMA history is, but do you remember a UFC guy named Dennis Hallman? Now,
Dennis Hallman.
Yeah, I mean Dennis beat Matt Hughes twice. So Dennis was no joke. But Dennis fought at 185, 170, and 155. And for the Abu Dhabi tournaments, he tried to make 145, and he almost killed himself. He was right;
Yeah.
he just didn't make it. You know what I mean? So just be careful. But you got your company and your structure there. And like I said, that stuff changes over time too. So what you can do now, you may not get away with at 30. So experiment, have fun. So
definitely.
Now with a couple UFC veterans on the team, have you gone to a UFC?
I have not went to a UFC event, but I've been to like their weigh-ins and stuff. But I'll go to Jacob Kilburn's next fight. I'm gonna do my best to go there. I would love to go to all of them if I could, but it costs money.
yeah. No, at times you get the corner and stuff, but at your age, with if that opportunity presents itself, it's another way to add experience too. So
of course.
So yeah, if try to bum a pass off these motherfuckers.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm sure they got a lot. I'm sure they got, everybody calls them for passes, right? So
definitely.
But that's your goal, right? The last time we talked, the UFC was pretty firmly your goal. That you took a loss, but that hasn't changed. Talk about your mindset overall, the whole package there.
Yeah. So UFC to me is the pinnacle of MMA. If you think you're the best in MMA, you need to go to the UFC and prove that you're the best. If you're a champion in the UFC, you can say until you lose that title, you are the greatest 145er or 130 or whatever weight class you are. You can even say you're the greatest fighter. Period. And UFC is the pinnacle. I love it. One thing I like it is because I like free stuff. And they give you free clothes, free hotel, all that good stuff. So that's one reason I like it. But I'll fight anywhere to make it there because I believe that if I were to go to Bellator, I'll make a big name in Bellator and I'll call out a UFC fighter and they'll sign me over there. And then I'm in the UFC. So UFC is the number one goal because I believe I like a challenge. I like the best fighters. That's why I fight who I fight in the CFC. That's why I fight who I fight outside the CFC because I want the best people, especially as an amateur, because the best people are going to make me much better once I turn pro. So UFC is the pinnacle. If I want to be the best, I need to be the best in the UFC. Being the best anywhere else, that's okay. But as soon as you go to UFC, it's a whole nother level.
And good. That's still the goal. Still attractive to you, and the loss didn't say, keep your eye on the prize kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, the loss wasn't really much to me because I didn't really give it my best, and we didn't really fight. We just stared at we had a staring contest for 9 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, it's sometimes best to stay away from that rematch
Yeah.
for other reasons as well. So how often does Jonathan have shows? So after March 7th, you fight a month later?
Yeah, March 7th, I'll fight April, and then he's going to have one summertime, then have one in like Halloween time.
Okay.
But I like to fight as much as possible.
So after the April fight, anything in the works, or you thinking about it? Obviously, you'll be in the 135, 145 pound range. You could repeat at 135 if the fight comes along.
Yeah, I could repeat at 135, possibly, depending on how the weight goes. But after this fight in April, I'm going to defend my title for Ivy and then see what opportunities present themselves after that.
All right. And let me ask, just as we wrap up here, a couple of more fun questions. Who do you see as the best 145er in the UFC right now? Because Holloway just gave up his belt, but, Holloway pretty damn good mixed martial arts fighter.
In the UFC, you said?
Yeah, or who's the best 145er out there?
All right, I would say the best 145er would be. I like them all. I like Alexander Volkanovski. I believe Jose Aldo was the best 45 ever. But right now, I'd have to give it to my man Jacob Kilburn. No, I'm just kidding. AJ McGee, I would probably say is the best 145er right now.
On the Bellator roster, yeah. Hey, his father fought for me, so I'm very familiar with the McKees, and his father's a guy who's an unsung hero in my book. He was a guy who was a real stud wrestler that kind of got, and you learn this game at an older age. It was hard for him to break some habits that, got him labeled boring, and the UFC said they'd never have him, and that's not fair, So hopefully his kid breaks through, and that's a nice X factor pick there on your part. It's a good young fighter, and I appreciate that you're looking at the whole game beyond the UFC. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What about 155?
And period 155, best 155er. I got two. So I got the best current 155er and who has the most potential to be the best 155er. The best current 155er, my honest opinion, is Tony El Kakui Perkison. I think he's going to finish Khabib. And the best up and coming, I would say, people are going to, say something about it. Jacob Kilburn, he doesn't like this guy. But I would say Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee has the potential to be the best 155er. If he keeps his mind sharp, best 155er.
Yep. I mean, we talked a little bit about it. Lee's a guy that the UFC didn't do him any favors with their matchmaking, But now he's got a wealth of experience, and somebody's going to walk in and say, hey, here's a guy maybe with 10 losses. It's like, yeah, but, what do you do? I agree with you. Kevin Lee is, even though he's got some losses, still is every bit the prodigy and prospect that they once touted. They don't even hype that much anymore. But
exactly.
I think you're right, and I think Ferguson's not a bad choice. How about all timers? Well,
all timers.
Forget weight classes. Let's just who your favorite.
All right, my favorite fighter of all time. This guy got me into the UFC. He got me. Well, Jacob got me into the UFC, but this guy got me to wanting to be the best And it sounds weird because how cocky I am and not that humble. I'm humble and victory or defeat, but I prefer people like to see people talk shit and talk trash. They like it. It makes them yeah and go crazy. So GSP is my favorite all time. George St. Pierre, my number one favorite, and then probably second, very close number two would be John Bones Jones.
Okay, so that's some quality guys there. Either one of them could be all-time great too. So it's funny. You're a young man too, because I remember the guy that I watched. I watched. I think it was UFC 3 that was on pay-per-view, and I happened to catch it. And then I watched a couple of them, and the guy who made me come back was Tank Abbott.
Oh yeah, I know Tank Abbott. Yeah.
Just that's the guy. So, and anyway, not a lot of technique from back then. So, I've been talking to Alexander Schenk. He's a friend of the CRP podcast here. He's a young amateur MMA fighter out of the Tennessee area, and he'll be fighting March 7th at the CFP 8. A lot to talk about in this podcast. He's got a couple amateur belts, and then he's showing off here. Always confident, and he's coming in to defend his 145-pound title against Ebi Sigpi. We will have Sigpi on the on the CRP podcast here in short order as well. And then we'll see them on March 7th. Any final words? And go ahead and plug your school and any websites and stuff you wanna hype.
Okay, so I got Harris Hall Martial Arts Academy, best martial arts school out there. I would like to thank Jacob Kilburn and Lance Boyd for getting me here and training me, make sure I'm straight. My mom and my sister Erica and my training partners, they all did a significant, wonderful job in helping me, and I'm helping them. And then go look up HKA, and they have on Facebook, and they have my T-shirt, Alexander Pretty Boy Schenk, and on the back it says serving an MMA buffet. And then I would say Train 360, it's a sponsor of me. Symbolic Photography, another sponsor, and then Selling Trade Nashville would be another sponsor. So shout all them out, shout you out, shout Jonathan Alvey out, because you guys are top notch. You guys are making me get my name out there. And so once I make it big, y'all can be like, oh, I interviewed him or he fought on my show.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping for. And it'd be great for everybody. And, check out Alexander is going to spread the interview. Obviously, you can check out the links to him and his sponsors there. I'm going to be putting up links for the March 7th cage fighting in Tennessee. You can pick up tickets on the internet for Murfreesboro on the 7th of March. And I'm Miguel Durati. That's Alexander Schenk. And thank you very much. Talk to you soon, bro.
Yep, thank you.
Bye-bye.